Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Maldonado, and I'll be doing my speech on drugs in America. Back in 1970, Congress enacted the Controlled Substance Act, and the CSA is the federal U.S. drug policy under which the manufacturer, distributor, importation, possession, use, and distribution of certain substances is regulated. Now, for those that aren't familiar with that, now the DEA has actually complete control over what is being scheduled as a controlled substance, and you have different levels. Schedule one, two, three, four, and the way they do that is they take into consideration how dangerous the drug actually is, meaning, is there more potential of deaths, possible overdose, also addiction, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Uh, how strong is this drug that would allow people to become so addicted to this that it's very difficult for them to get off. You've seen it a lot where people, who get hooked on heroin, methamphetamine, crack cocaine, it's very difficult for people to get off without some sort of assistance from possibly a drug rehabilitation center, family, friends. They definitely need a good support group, things of that nature. Okay. According to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, as of September 2015, there are 93,821 inmates incarcerated for drugs. That's approximately 48.4% of the population, which is incarcerated for drugs. A lot of people say that drugs are a victimless crime, and that's one of the things that I'm actually doing a research on. While the government doesn't track all drug overdoses, they do track the most commonly used ones. The National Institute on Drug Abuse reports over 20,000 overdose deaths for prescription medication. Almost 18,000 of those have died from opiate pain reliever overdose. Almost 7,000 from benzodiazepine, and almost 6,000 from cocaine, and 9,000 from heroin. That's a lot of people that's overdosing from these medications, and your street drugs as well. Um, it's just sad. It really is sad. I know I personally had family members who have been addicted to narcotics. Um, and it's a horrible thing to see. It really is. I'm not here to pass judgment on anyone, or not taking any sides on whether or not to say that drugs are or are not a victimless crimes. I'm just here to tell you about the research that I've done, and some of the facts that I actually came up with. But we all know that, at the end of the day, drugs are bad, um, and we've seen the epidemic here recently of prescription drug abuses. That's not only impacting the adult generation, but now it's actually impacting the younger generation as well. Um, as a law enforcement officer, I worked 2 years undercover, and I worked a total of 6 years in narcotics division, and it's horrible to see some of the things that not only your street drugs are doing, but nowadays these prescription drugs, your Xanax, your hydrocodone, your oxycodone, your oxycontin, things like that. There's a lot of parents that have buried their children that shouldn't have. No parent should have to bury their child. You know. Okay. According to the UNODC's World Drug Report 2007, um, opium harvest in Afghanistan reached $3.1 billion. Also, almost 400 tons of cocaine was exported from Latin countries, um, with a value of almost $2 billion. Additional to that, okay, no one really knows exactly how much terrorists profit from drugs, but there's importing, exporting, manufacturing, selling. whatever the case may be, nobody really knows. But we all know that even a small percentage of that would allow the terrorists to plan, finance, and carry out the terrorist acts. Um, so I brought that into light to say this. Drugs are actually a way for a lot of criminal and terrorist organizations to finance their activities. Okay, um, we've all seen all kinds of things. I don't know if you've watched things like on TV, like on Gangland or anything like that, where your Bloods and your Crips, they actually buy and sell drugs just so they can buy more and more guns to go attack their rivals. That's pretty disturbing. So not only are you hurting your community by selling these drugs and possibly getting addicted to it yourself, but you're also buying, numerous guns, ammunition, possibly high-powered scopes, night vision, anything like that, and it's quite alarming. The way things are going on in this world nowadays. I know every time you turn on TV, you probably see something that's going on. Might be somebody that's getting shot, anything like that. Also, you got to take into consideration, you know, the people that are under the influence when they're driving. It also slows your reaction time. So if you out there and you're driving and there's a vehicle coming towards you, well, you're not going to have that same reaction time to try to avoid that vehicle because what it does is slow down your response time. So what's going to happen is you're going to see it, but it's going to be too late, and boom. Okay, I can tell you from personal experience as well that I've actually seen a lot of people that's under the influence of heroin or these medications that are actually valid, that there are a lot of lives that are lost when it's totally unavoidable. You know, no reason that somebody should be dying when it is avoidable. You know, this is something that is actually very dear and heart to me on the discussion that I'm speaking about, or the topic that I'm speaking about. Not only from a law enforcement perspective, uh, but also as an individual that was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, in the projects, and seen firsthand what some of the things that can happen, how it affects people's lives, and people don't realize that when you become addicted to these narcotics, uh, you have family that you got to think about as well. So again, I'm not taking either side. I'm here to strictly tell you what I've seen firsthand personally and what I actually researched. And that's all the things that I've actually come up with. I mean, there's numerous things that you can actually research on the internet. And I mean, it's almost endless on some of the research that's being done, statistics, news, papers that are being written, books by former addicts. It's constant. It's almost never ending, like I said previously. So I hope you all enjoyed this. I wish I had a little bit more time to continue this. I mean, because there would be just so much more that I can actually speak on and add on to this with. Unfortunately, I have a limited amount of time. So if you're interested, like I said, the internet has tons and tons and tons of research and data that you can actually look up for yourself. I mean, any keyword will bring it up from anything from drugs to narcotics to schedule controlled substances to shootings involving drugs to drug raids to Mexican cartels to terrorists to families affected by drugs. I mean, it's like I said, it's almost endless. I challenge every single one of y'all to do this and just see, what facts are actually out there and some of the research that is being done and some of the statistics that are actually being brought. out of this research. Thank you, and I appreciate you all.